guys? Paulie Malignaggi here. This episode of Paulie TV is brought to you by the Boxing Showtimes app. You'll never miss another fight. You'll never not know what time it's on. You'll never not know what network it's on. And you'll never not know what bar is showing it in your area. I know a lot of us want to watch the fights at the bars or among people, among fans. Well, this app gives you the whole schedule, the network, and also gives you a list of bars and businesses that are showing the fight that you might be looking for. So you can go to this establishment and watch it among fight fans if you'd like. Artur Beterbiev versus Joe Smith. Man, that was dynamite. That was pretty quick. A lot quicker than I thought it'd end, that's for sure. For those of you that thought it was going to be Hagler-Hearns, well, you know what? I mean, I think Joe Smith came out to try to make it into Hagler-Hearns. I think, you know what's funny? I think Joe Smith had the right idea. You know, you find a monster puncher. If you're Joe Smith, you're confident in your own punching power, as I think Joe has overachieved a lot due to having such big punching power. So, you know what? It was probably in his best interest to go right after Beterbiev, because sometimes the big puncher, when a guy's a big puncher, they don't fight well backing up. So I think Joe... when you looked at both of them together, it seemed like the physically bigger guy. So I don't think that was a bad idea to try to back up Beterbiev. You know, because Beterbiev is going to be technically better than you if you give him time, and which is what ended up happening once Joe slowed down halfway through the first round and into the second round. But not a bad idea. Again, nobody's ever really backed up Beterbiev. I don't know if anybody's even really tried to back him up. Usually he's knocking guys out if they're going to stick in punching range like that. But ultimately, the first half of the first round, he was backing up, and Joe didn't land anything huge, but it was successful in that he was able to kind of control Beterbiev from throwing that dynamite or having the mean intentions he needed. But as soon, halfway through the first round, it wasn't even that Joe so much slowed down, it was that Beterbiev kind of slowed him down himself. He went with the body shots. I remember him landing a hard, straight jab to the stomach. He started digging into a couple of body shots, and before you knew it, before the first round was over, Joe was slowing down. And once Joe was slowing down, the normally slow-starting Artur Beterbiev now has sort of got his bearings going, because he had a guy who came out so fast against him, which is Joe. And it seemed like he warmed up right away once Joe slowed down, where usually it takes Beterbiev a few rounds to warm up. And once Joe slowed down, he was going to the body. Terrific shot selection. Listen, I think... Beterbiev doesn't get enough credit for his technical ability because he's such a big puncher, but you notice the shot selection yesterday was very, very smart, very savvy with the uppercuts as Joe was bending in, right hands to the side of the head when Joe was giving them, or even the over-the-top right hands. Really, really smart boxer as well as a heavy, heavy puncher. I'm telling you, I've said it before about Eastern European boxers. There is a culture over there that is just, they were not even turning pro until 1990. And even the first 10, 15 years after they were allowed to turn pro, the culture really wasn't so much that they turned pro. I can remember guys like Beterbiev who beat Gennady Golovkin in the Olympic finals, never turned pro. He was Olympic champion. Oleksandr, who I think won 2 gold medals or a gold and a bronze or something, was a Russian welterweight when I was younger, never turned pro. You've got these guys that up until about 05, 06, a lot of them weren't even turning pro, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's more guys I haven't even mentioned. They weren't even turning pro, despite the fact that they could turn pro, because the culture was just so used to not turning pro. But when they do turn pro, these guys can be pretty dangerous, man. And Beterbiev is one of those guys. He kind of reminds you of the Drago character in the Rocky movies, in Rocky 4. Just no emotion, and really, really a devastating fighter. Terrific puncher, and really savvy boxing skills as well. I don't know. I don't think he's the biggest light heavyweight. It's just Joe Smith was a lot bigger than him yesterday, but he's a dynamite puncher. He's expressed his interest in moving up to the heavyweight division. Personally, I don't think that's such a great idea. Usually anybody has a hard time bringing up their punching power to heavier weights, right? And even when you got the heavyweights that are the size of the ones that are today, it's a little bit more tough. Guys like Roy Jones have won light heavyweight titles and gone on to heavyweight. I think Michael Spinks might have done it as well. I think he was light heavyweight. Bob Foster tried and got knocked out by Joe Frazier. But ultimately, there have been guys that have tried. I just think the heavyweights today are just so big, and there's just nowhere to really follow along. And people might say, Oleksandr Usyk, another Eastern European, that might be a guy he can take on. But I don't even know stylistically Beterbiev matches up well with Usyk. I remember a guy named Murat Gassiev. He's still around, actually. Gassiev was a devastating puncher at cruiserweight, much in the same mold as Beterbiev. Flat-footed, good technically, but would just punch holes in guys, And when he fought Usyk, I remember thinking Usyk was going to get beat. I remember thinking Gassiev was just going to be too strong for him, and Usyk boxed circles around him. So, you got Usyk was bigger than Beterbiev because Usyk was a cruiserweight, right? And then, he's your smallest heavyweight champion you have, and he's already dealt with a guy of the style of Beterbiev when he fought Gassiev, and he handled that pretty well. And Gassiev is naturally bigger than Beterbiev. So even if I move to heavyweight, despite how devastating Beterbiev is, I don't know that that's such a great idea. I'd love to see him with Dimitri Bivol. I don't see Dimitri Bivol being in a rush to fight him either, because Bivol probably is going to wait until just to see if he can catch that Canelo rematch, which he would probably deserve if Canelo wants to return to light heavyweight and take that chance. Bivol took the Canelo fight on lesser terms than most guys would, just for the sake of getting the opportunity to fight Canelo and defend against him. But I think Beterbiev and Bivol, first of all, it's a battle of two Russians, so it would be like a little civil war there. And second of all, it would be the unification for the light heavyweight title. So we would have yet another chance to see a unified, undisputed world champion at a weight class. I think Joe Smith's been fun to watch. We got to concentrate a little bit on Joe Smith. He's been fun to watch. He's overachieved a lot, and he's always going to be a fun puncher to see. But now with the light heavyweight division being the way it is, the two guys that have the belts are the two guys that beat Joe Smith. Dimitri Bivol beat Joe Smith, and Artur Beterbiev beat Joe Smith. So where does Joe Smith even go from here? I mean, he got to take some comeback fights if he's looking to fight. If he's looking to fight again, but I think Joe Smith can remain a relatively dangerous guy and can make some fun fights. Maybe even like a Joe Smith against a Marcus Brown. That's a cool fight. That's a dynamite fight. Brown has better boxing ability and is a good puncher himself. And Smith, has while he's had trouble with some boxers, he's caught up to some of them as well and knocked them out. So I think Joe Smith can be in, and some of the other heavyweights that have come up short against these guys can still be in some fun fights and can really keep the light heavyweight division entertaining. But personally, for me, with Beterbiev, I'd love to see him against Bivol. Bivol, I had him on my pound for pound list. He had a win over Canelo and some other solid wins. Sometimes I didn't even have Beterbiev on my pound for pound list because I totally forget he exists sometimes. He's such a quiet destroyer that you forget the guy exists. And it's also going to show you the culture of boxing, because really he's sort of the boxing equivalent of Nurmagomedov, Khabib Nurmagomedov. I can't even say this guy's name. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib was a destroyer in MMA, and he basically became a superstar in the UFC. I feel like Beterbiev is sort of the equivalent of him. I think they're even from the same part of Russia. I think Beterbiev is actually from Chechnya, and Khabib is from Dagestan, which I similar cultures. I don't know if it's the same exact region there, but they certainly are similar cultures, and they produce some terrific fighters. Listen, the reason the Eastern Europeans aren't dominating more, in my opinion, is because a lot of them also go to MMA. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing about it is, wherever these guys exist, if these guys exist in a certain weight class, they tend to be the dominant guy in the weight class. They're just not in every weight class, and that's not to knock on black or Hispanic fighters, or even some of the Western European or American fighters, American white fighters in general. It's just there's a crazy combat sports culture over in Eastern Europe, and they are very savvy technically, and they also are very strong mentally, and they tend to produce a lot of punchers as well. Not all of them are punchers, but tend to produce a lot of punchers as well, which I remember when I was younger, there was like Colombians and Venezuelans, a lot of them in South America. That was a region that also produced a lot of punchers. Well, now with these guys turning pro, you're seeing a lot of them are savvy boxers. You got the Lomachenkos and Usyks of the world who aren't monster punchers, but they're very, very good boxers. And you got guys like Beterbiev, and the guy I mentioned before, even Murat Gassiev, who just punch holes in guys, are so strong and typically have good chins as well. My personal choice for what I want to see Beterbiev do next, I'd love to probably see him fight Bivol. I'd love to see that fight, but I don't see Bivol being in a rush to take it. We'll see what happens. I think the Beterbiev is too small for the heavyweight division. let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in your comment sections what you think of Beterbiev and where he should really go. I think he's been so devastating. Oleksandr was boxing well against him. I remember when Beterbiev unified WBC title, Vasic's WBC title with his own IBF title. Vasik was doing so well, and then suddenly that was it. It was the end. You know, it was like Beterbiev just stopped him. So even good boxers, he eventually catches up to them. It's crazy. But he is 37 years old, so he's probably going to look for a big score soon. And maybe he's willing to take a chance to go up to the heavier divisions to do that. But overall, another devastating performance by Artur Beterbiev. Even more devastating than I thought, because I thought it would last a few more rounds. And I thought Joe Smith would possibly render himself dangerous as well. Beterbiev was too good technically, and of course his punching power showed. Just knocked out a clean stoppage against a guy who had never been down or stopped before in his career. Again, I'm Paulie Malignaggi. Like, comment, subscribe from Paulie TV.
If you're a boxing fan and never want to miss a fight, Boxing Showtimes is the app you need. This is a professional boxing schedule in your pocket that keeps you up to date on what's going on in the world of boxing. Enjoy watching fights in a bar, sipping a cold one? We got you. An interactive map with your local boxing bars is available to you at any time. And that's not everything. Set reminders, buy tickets, watch official highlights, get boxing news, and so much more. Download now. Thank us later.